Let the record show at 6 o'clock. We'll call our meeting to order. So we have a roll call.
Eddie Gokenauer.
Here.
Linda Barnhart.
Present.
Eric Goff.
Here.
Vicana Norton.
Present.
Tim Lewis. Daniel Gant.
Here.
Nick Deal.
Present.
Derek Smith.
We have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is to approve the agenda as it was sent to you.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Gant, to approve the agenda as submitted. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? There's no question. The agenda is approved. The next item on the agenda is the Sunshine Law speakers, and that is if you have something that you want to speak to the council or the commission about this evening, this is your time to do that. If you are here to speak regarding the public hearing, we'd ask that you wait until the public hearing is open.
No one signed in.
No one signed in, okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes. Those were sent to you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Deal to approve the minutes as submitted. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain due to absence.
One abstention by Mr. Gant due to absence. Okay, the first item on the agenda is a public hearing, and it is a petition to amend the Tuscarora zoning map. This is an opportunity for you to have those comments made. I think it would be wise if you just had one person speak for a particular issue. I'm sure you all have many issues, but you may want to allow someone to speak for you rather than the whole 50 people. We're, excuse me, we're already above the 25 people limit that's allowed in this room under the COVID restrictions. Also, I might add, if you are fully vaccinated, you can remove your mask. If you're not fully vaccinated, it would be preferable for you to keep your mask on. Okay, we'll open our public hearing. It is a petition to amend the Tuscarora zoning map. Okay. Let the record show that Mr. Barton, on behalf of Steptoe and Johnson, is going to present the petition to amend the Tuscarora zoning.
Good evening, President Barnhart, members of the Commission. As stated, my name is Ken Barton with law firm Steptoe and Johnson. With me tonight, I'd like to introduce Mr. Bob Steptoe, Ms. Sally Hazard. They're the owners of the property, along with their brother Phil Steptoe. We also have Mr. Alan Henry from Panhandle Built Homes, who would be the developer of the project, and also the project engineer hiding in the back somewhere is Steve Sianovich.
Thank you.
As you all know from our visit last month, the petitioners have filed a petition requesting that their property be removed from the Tuscarora zoning ordinance. As an aside, I learned last week that the county council has issued a notice that it will be holding a public hearing on June the 10th as part of the county council's plan to potentially repeal the entire zoning ordinance. The part of that, while they may be parallel, that is not why we're here tonight. This is not about what the county council is doing. The county council is operating under a different statutory framework, and they will have their own public hearing in June. Your role in this entire process is quite limited. Pursuant to West Virginia Code Section 8A-79, you're required to advise the county council as to whether the proposed zoning change is consistent with the comprehensive plan of Berkeley County. That's it. That's all you're being asked to do. That's what you're required to do under the code. You're not here to review the sketch plan. If there's going to be a sketch plan approval, that will come sometime later, once the zoning issue is resolved. Frankly, the only reason that this plan was actually appended to our petition was because there was inconsistency between the ordinance and state code. State code doesn't require you to submit a plan, but the local ordinance did. So we thought it was important to submit a plan, not only to show that we have a plan, but also to get input. I mean, this can be a give and take. The plan, as you well know, is not set in stone. It can be subject to comments, and if there are good comments tonight, it might be up to the developer to decide whether or not it wants to make some changes. By advising the county council that removal of the step-toe property from the requirements of the zoning ordinance does not mean that you're approving this particular plan. Sketch plan approval will come later, after that issue's been resolved. So the question for you is simple. Is the removal of the step-toe property consistent with the comprehensive plan? I would submit that it is, and we request that at the end of the meeting, or as soon as possible, you vote to advise the county council of that fact, that it is consistent with the zoning ordinance. So why do I say that it's consistent? Well, if you look at the current ordinance, which was enacted in 46 years ago, you'll see that the ordinance restricted this property to a rural residential use, and that's at section 503.1 of the zoning ordinance at page 44. That was in 1975, and I think I was a sophomore in high school, and I don't think I had this much gray hair, even though I thought it was about 2 weeks ago. In 2006, and again in 2016, so roughly 31 years after the enactment of the ordinance, which was then reaffirmed 10 years later, the county designated all the land roughly a quarter mile east of Arden Oldville Road. So if you're on Tuscarora Pike, start at Arden Oldville Road, come about a quarter of a mile east, that from that point to 81 is a growth area. It's no longer residential rural. So that was in 2006 and in reaffirmed in 2016. This is a growth area. Rural residential doesn't start until you get outside, almost outside of Arden Oldville Road. And that's not disputed. I received a brief about an hour ago from Chateau Gay Homeowners Association. I don't know if it's made its way to you, but there's no one's disputing that, and I don't think anyone here will. If you look at the growth map shows clearly that it is within the growth area. So what does it mean if it's within the growth area? Chapter 5A of the comprehensive plan at pages 7 and 8 states that most of the homes are single-family detached, but there are also townhomes, garden-style apartments, and other styles of high-density housing. These are areas to be serviced by public water and sewer, and that's what this project will be. It'll be serviced by public water and sewer. I saw on social media there was concern that this project might affect the water system. It's going to be public sewer and water. It will not have any impact on the groundwater. The comprehensive plan goes further, and it states appropriate land uses in growth areas include single-family homes, multifamily homes, institutional uses, recreational uses, and neighborhood commercial development. Thus, I'm just reading what it says. Thus, the potential uses shown on this sketch plan that has been submitted complies with the comprehensive plan's expectation for a growth area. The plan for the step-toe farm also satisfies another area of the comprehensive plan, which is that which we're striving in this county to make housing more affordable. It's interesting, my daughter and son-in-law are going to be moving back here from North Carolina and are looking to buy a house. And Mr. Gant probably knows it better than anybody. They were quoted $200 to $250 a square foot to build a house. That's crazy. But at those prices, a 2,500 square foot home is going to cost them between $500,000 and $625,000. The vision of the comprehensive plan is to make housing affordable, as the plan states in Chapter 6 at pages 8 and 9. From my review of the comprehensive plan, I could not find anything that would suggest that removal of the step-toe farm from the Tuscarora zoning ordinance will be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. And in looking at the comments made by Chateau Gay, they said a couple things in there that I thought were noteworthy. First of all, they said that the county council has the full authority to be able to remove this property from the zone, Tuscarora zoning map. Didn't question it. And then the second thing they said was, made a conclusory statement of, the plan is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. The sketch plan that's been submitted is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, but don't tell you why. They just say it is. And I was struck by that, because I would suggest to you that in all likelihood, you're not really going to hear anything tonight that's going to suggest that this project, as submitted, is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. And as such, at the proper time for your deliberation, I would request that you would then send a message to the county council that this project complies with the comprehensive plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing Mr. Barton, we will now open the public hearing for comment. If you'd like to, you want to read something? Oh, yes, sorry.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me? I wanted to get up at the beginning of the public hearing to share the written comments that have come in to us either by mail or email. I'm not going to read through the details of each one, but I will share who has sent in the request. And for the Planning Commission members' information and for everyone here this evening, every written comment that has been received by either Planning Commission staff, Planning Commission members, or council members will be compiled into one packet of written public comment and shared with everyone so that you have the entire complete set of written comments for your consideration. I have an email that was received from Donald T. King and Joanne B. King from 3 Towson Avenue, and they are in opposition and request that you deny the petition. I have a letter from Richard and Diana Key from 555 Street of Dreams, and they are in opposition to the recommendation. They're in opposition of the request. I have an email from Jane Park on 8973 Tuscarora Pike, and they are in opposition of the proposed change. I have a written letter from David Nold at the address of 297 Babbling Brook Lane, and they are in opposition of the changes. I have a written letter from Jerry Fogel and Patricia Fogel. They are in opposition of the proposed changes. Their address is 277 Showers Lane. I have a petition from the owners of the Chateau Gay Homeowners Association by their counsel, Richard Gay, and they are in opposition of the changes. I have a letter from from Linda Taylor. It's an email. I don't see an address specifically, but this individual is in opposition of the changes. And then I have a petition memorandum in support from the petitioner's STEPTO trustee and affiliates. And one last, two more. I have an email from John W. Bushman in opposition as a resident at 74 Babbling Brook Lane. And I have an email from Art and Joyce Robison from 236 Babbling Brook Lane, Mountain Brook Estates, and they are in opposition of the change.
Okay, if your name has been read, it's not necessary for you to come up and reiterate what you sent in your email, letters, or phone calls. With that being said, we'll be open for the first comment regarding the petition. Don't everybody jump at once. That's like
I
crossing
have been
the,
vaccinated, I just have to say.
that's like crossing the street. You go, no, you go.
My name's Carol Criswell. We are property owners abutting the land that's in question. And speaking for my wife, my brother and his wife, we oppose this ordinance. There are several reasons. We do have farm animals on our farm, and putting a high-density housing deal in there, I know there's probably, I don't know how you figured it, but I would assume at least 2 children each per house. A lot of them are only going to be 8 to 10 years old. I know they'll be over at our farm, you know, and you get kids, you're going to get a dog. And you get a dog and a pregnant cow, and bad things happen. So I have problems with keeping the livestock healthy, and then they leave a lot of trash on our field because we have a stream that runs right through it. And then also they cut the fence. You know, I'm losing my barbed wire fence is getting cut all over the place now. I would have to put a fence probably the size of the Mexican border or something up there, you know, to try to keep everybody out. But that is going to cost me a lot of money. It would probably have to at least be a 9-foot fence, and then I have a stream crossing, so they can crawl into the stream. You know, that's one issue. The second issue would be the commercial part. It's rural. You know, we don't need more businesses out there. You know, there's enough now, and the traffic is bad. If you look at commercial stuff right along that area, it's going to look like exit 12 in Christmas time. It's just going to back up every evening, be terrible. You know, you won't be able to get in and out, and then you'll want.
We don't have time for that. Everyone needs to speak. We don't have time for applause. Please contain yourself. We know what you feel. Please contain yourself.
Yeah, the traffic.
Thank you.
With commercial, I'm already experiencing it now with commercial properties that my property, that I'm getting huge watershed, garbage. I just took out a tractor scoop load of garbage the other day from my place because a lot of businesses just don't care. You know, they're interested in making money, and stuff like letting garbage run across onto my yard, they don't care. You know, so they're into making money. I'm not saying they're bad people. That's just not their priority. So those were my 3 reasons. Thank you so much for your time.
And the insurance for on a farm, it's gonna
Well,
go up.
Yes, probably
Because of
will.
more people trying to get on your property.
Okay, we're going to have to limit everybody that speaks to 3 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Criswell.
I'll be quick because I echo a lot of what he said. I probably own the most fence line adjoining this
Let's have your
property.
name, please.
Right place. I live in Jimmy's old house, Jimmy Steptoe's old house.
Okay.
So I have quite a bit of fence line. And I'm just concerned about the number of people. You know, larger homes, larger lots, okay. Yeah, I realize things have to be developed. But putting a ton of people in there, I'm gonna have people all over my yard and my acre, or I have 5 acres, so that's a big concern.
Thank you so much.
I'm Patrick Henry. Some of you know me because I used to be here. I'm struck by the fact that when this ordinance was adopted, it was adopted at the instance of the Steptoe family. J.D. Steptoe drafted the ordinance. It was done because the city of Martinsburg had limits because it couldn't cross over the interstate. And there was a desire to affirm and restrict the development to residential development in that area. Now, those of you who haven't been around here that long, this ordinance was done a few years after the interstate ramp because it was no problem until the ramp was put there for King Street. Prior to that time, it was definitely farmland. Once you crossed over the bridge over the interstate, you were out in the boonies. Now, the same family that put this into effect is now the family that wants to basically end it. All of those houses that are along Showers Lane were sold by the Steptoes. Those houses were bought by individuals in expectation of the protection of zoning. So now we are faced with the proposition that this body, who for over 30 years has developed comprehensive plans, has proposed zoning ordinances, that has worked to try to create a semblance of reasonable development schemes, is now being asked to throw that out. It's not the residential development. I think everybody here would agree. Reasonable residential development in that area is appropriate, it's coming, there's nothing anyone can do about it, and it is essentially needed. But the commercial use, the transfer over to commercial usage, basically says that a zoning ordinance in this county is worth nothing. And if there is ever any opportunity for zoning to be passed, this is communicating the message that zoning doesn't count. Thank you.
Thank you. I asked you, please, to contain yourself. We have marshals here. If we're going to have outbursts like that, you're going to have to be removed. You're taking up valuable time.
Hello, my name is Mary Knoll, and I'm here because elderly people in my neighborhood are panicking. They are really, this is a humanitarian issue. This is one man's greed, steptoe. And this can happen in the United States of America, where I took my citizenship. This would never happen anywhere else. I am disgusted, and if you see the old shaking people that I'm looking at every day, we have to move out of state. What are we going to do, Mary? This, in God's name, I beg you to stop this petition right now. It's a shame, and I hope none of you can live with your conscience if you do this to these elderly people. And we have black people in our neighborhood who worked and worked and worked to build those houses, but they don't count against steptoes, money and greed. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dan Shirley. My wife and I, Sheila, live at 15 Showers Lane. We bought our house, and I'll make this quick. A lot of things that I was going to present have already been presented. But I do want you to know, I bought this house 30-some years ago. My wife and I decided we wanted to purchase a new home. We bought it from Mrs. Elizabeth Lutz. She had an appraisal already done on the house before our initial conversations took place. I went, had a discussion about purchasing her home to make it our home, to raise our family. She showed me two things. One was the appraisal, and the other was this, the zoning ordinance. Both of them hold value, she told me. Both of them. What a shame that something that the Planning Commission had a part of, putting it together, they approved it, took effect September 23rd, 1975. That's like saying, in my mind, let's do away with stop signs. Let's worry about the injuries that it might do people. Let's worry about the damage to families it may do. Let's not worry about the value of the car that they're driving may incur. That's what you're saying. And the petitioner wants for the value of my house. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Run the stop sign. Do injury. Let's just go on with growth, progress, and everything else so someone else, not me, wrecking the car, not you wrecking your car, or let's put money in somebody else's pocket. That's not right. Two things I would ask you to consider. If you live on Showers Lane, Chateau Gay, Mountain Brook, Mill Point, other developments out Tuscarora Road, would you vote yes? live where I live and vote yes. Shame on you. Shame on you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tracy Heck. I live at 241 Showers Lane. I am living at the property that backs like right on to the Steptoe hayfield, is what I like to call my hayfield. I am here to talk to you tonight about what I call the Big Five in life. And with the Big Five in life, first of all, I want to talk about vision. And with vision, we're going to talk about the Tuscarora Community Citizens Advisory Committee, which had a vision of what this area was to become and how it would develop. Their vision is shared by all the residents in this area, and a major reason why we have chosen, my family chose to be a part of that community. Therefore, it's unimaginable that we should sacrifice not only their vision, but our way of life so that the heirs may profit while the surrounding neighbors suffer. Number two of the Big Five in life, knowledge. This is not a quote, not in my backyard reaction at all. But why not develop within the regulations? There are regulations established that we all knew about when we purchased our property. Why not build within those regulations? I knew at one point that there were going to be houses there. I had no problem with that. But what I do have a problem with is future commercial, whatever it is, on the development. I do not want Walmart in my backyard. That is wrong. A majority of the surrounding residents that I've spoken with have knowledge of the zoning ordinance. No different than how Mill Point, Mountain Brook, or Chateau Gay have developed. The only difference is those types of developments and what the petitioners shown on this exhibit, once the restrictions are lifted, removed, there's nothing in place to hold a developer to this concept, and this becomes a free-for-all. Number three, community. The zoning ordinance is specific in that it permits development of single-family detached product. This is what was established by the Tuscarora Community Citizens Advisory Committee, of which Mr. Robert M. Steptoe was a member. The only reason for removing the 74 acres from the zoning district is to allow for more density or removing restrictions for commercial development. The purpose of that is so the landowner, the petitioners, can benefit from increased property sales to a developer and gain profits, hurting us. And I will get my next three at the county.
Thank you.
Meeting. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Malcolm. I am the president of the Mountain Brook State HOA. I also am speaking on behalf of other members of the Showers Lane community who are not part of an organization. You should have received our petition to deny changes to the Tuscarora zoning district on behalf of those two groups. I know Mr. Gopkenhauer did reply. It was also sent to Mr. Delgado, so hopefully if you've not received a copy yet, you will do so. In regards to this petition, we have determined that we oppose it for several different reasons. We've already heard about the traffic congestion. I will pass over that topic to move to the next. The school overcrowding at Orchard View School is something that needs to be considered. Third graders are going to be joining that school system in the fall, In doing so, you're going to be adding hundreds more families who will be traveling in and out of Delmore Orchard Road and encountering the traffic that we already encounter on Tuscarora Pike at that intersection. Most importantly to my family is the flooding issue. We purchased our home from Phil Steptoe in 2013. At that time, he told us that he had no plans to have the ground behind us developed. Our property line is Tuscarora Creek. Behind Tuscarora Creek is the piece of ground that you're looking at this petition on. Twice in this past time frame since we have moved in, the 100-year floodplain has exceeded its banks, and the bridge entering into and out of Mill Point and Mount Brook Estate has flooded to the point where it has become impassable. We have heard someone mention already the concern about water. If it is going to impact us as far as well water, we do understand now that that is going to be a city service, but also consider the water runoff. Because these homes are going to be overly developed or high density development, the amount of water that will be coming down and into the Tuscarora Creek will be exceedingly higher than we already are experiencing. We are concerned about the environmental impact this will have not only to our homes, but also on the wildlife, the fish, the game, all of those other creatures that will be impacted by this considerably higher density of development than what we expected to have back there. And of course, we're concerned about our property values, because most of us, when we chose to choose a location, we look for somewhere where many of these folks have come to retire. These are our longtime homes. These are our dream homes. To have that encroached upon because of someone's desire to make a greater profit should not infringe upon those of us who are already residents in our longtime homes. And let me just reiterate, we have many senior citizens who live in our neighborhood and along Showers Lane who are multi-generational owners of their properties. They have a right to see their dream and their retirement to its fulfillment without the encroachment of this petition. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, board members.
Do you want to pull?
Yes.
You want to pull the microphone?
Yes. My name is Joseph Bowers. I am the president of Chateau Gate Homeowners Association. I'm here to express a concern for every citizen within the Chateau Gate community, but also the other communities, homeowners, presidents of the Mountain Brook Estate, Chateau Gate, Mill Point, and also Showers Lane homeowners group. I will not read the joint resolution in its entirety, but I will read the gist after having met with the other three homeowners presidents. And the gist of it says that whereas the board has determined that the amendment of the Tuscarora community zoning as written and the proposed development would have an extreme deleterious effect on the members of the combined association through the loss of future homes values associated with overdevelopment of rural established areas and neighboring land, and unnecessary increase in flowing through traffic on private association roads, the increase of already above average highway noise from all residents in the immediately affected area, adversely affecting environmentally considerations to include water drainage, erosion, and runoff into the Tuscarora Creek, which is already a frequent point of dangerous flooding, and an increase in public foot traffic through established residential areas, increased security and safety concerns. That's the gist of some of the homeowners association president of the four community areas that I mentioned. Ms. Amanda Malcolm, Mr. Nicholas Antonetti, Mr. Scott McAvoy, and myself. I must say this before I end. You're looking at a product of a Southern boy that was the first 100, within the first 100 count of a volunteer army in the early 70s. I went in to devote my life to this country. I settled with 27 years of dedicated service to the military and finally made my home in the Spring Mills community. Mr. Henry built a marvelous home back then, and we were very satisfied with his services. However, if you look at the area of the Spring Mills, that when I moved there, it had one truck stop for the most part as far as commercial building and just the Spring Mills Commons area. Look at the congestion now. We're really concerned about that. I, as the president of the Chateau-Gay Homeowners Association, I am overly concerned about a sense of neighborhood and the safety of my residents within the Chateau-Gay community. And if you're considering anything, consider what that will do, the negative impact that will do to our quality of life. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm James Malcolm, live at 4 Babbling Brook Lane. You've heard from my wife, Amanda, who's the HOA president. But what I'll tell you is that we bought our house from Phil Steptoe, and Phil is a man of his word. And he told me right to my face that as long as he lives, that property will never be developed. He went so far as to sign the proclamation in Mill Point opposing this article, right? Their lawyer forgot to tell you that part, right? But we all know that, right? The people that are behind this are not going to have to live with the consequences of this decision. We're going to have to live with that. And as a planning commission, you're going to have to live with that, because as a planning commission, you should have a plan if you're going to develop more in the community, right? The closest fire station to us is Fire Station 30, which is in Baker Heights. That's 15 to 20 minutes away from our neighborhood. You know how much damage a fire can do in 15 to 20 minutes? Even Martinsburg Fire Company number 1, which is downtown, is 15 minutes, right? Mr. Gokenhauer, you know what fire can do. You were the chief, Berkeley County, right? We don't have the infrastructure to support high density. And as you've heard from the residents, we don't have a problem with the development inside the rules. That's the big thing. I've been 20 years in the Navy. I had somebody living above me, below me, right next to me. One of the things that I made sure of before we bought this house 8 years ago was that I would have some room. I have that room now. I have 3 1/4 acres, and it develops right on the creek. My property adjoins the Steptoe property. It also adjoins the Criswell property. Right? We've had many discussions about that. People coming across our property, hunting illegally, right? Even in my backyard. What is it going to do when we put high-density housing back there? We can't support that. You as a planning commission can't support that. There's no infrastructure to support that. I've been there 8 years. You know how many sheriff's patrols I've seen come through our neighborhood just to patrol the neighborhood? 0. What does that tell you about our neighborhood and about the rural part? It should stay that way. We don't have a problem. We don't need a problem. This will, especially with commercial, with the sketch design, right? The mini storage unit. Look at the crime rates from that. It's an easy Google. We don't want that in our neighborhood. And then you have to live with that decision, because that's your decision. How are you going to support that as a planning commission with infrastructure? I see no plans for that. I've heard no plans for that. That's why we're asking you not to recommend this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lee Sanner, and one of the departments that they're not talking about is 14 Discovery Road, which is in Lost Road or Discovery Road. That's also part of this. And though it's a small little community, it's very important. And when I first came in here, I thought, I'm going to talk about water runoff. I'm going to talk about this. And it seems so minuscule now. But when I hear this young lady talking about vision, it changed everything. Because that's the whole thing. Corporate America, lawyers can tell you whatever, and they'll say, oh, it's for housing, it's for better housing. We all want better housing. That's why we're here. We wanted better housing. And so when you look at this map and you think about the vision and all of the other businesses that's coming in here, don't get me wrong. We all need jobs, especially now. We all need jobs. However, we all need safe homes and secure homes. And to change a zoning area just so that this can happen is not right. So I'm V. Sanner at 14 Discovery Road, Lost Colony.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Corey Rodriguez. I live at 498 Woolen Mill Road, part of the Mountain Brook Estates. Just like to say I agree with all the points that every resident has brought up so far. I'd like to say that I grew up with a father in Western Pennsylvania that was on a planning commission for 30 years, and I understand the importance of zoning and protecting residential areas and neighborhoods. An unzoned county is no different than a country with open borders. Anybody can come in, they can build whatever they want. There is no reason that the people that moved here, for the same reason that I did, the peace, the tranquility, the quietness, the friendly neighbors, should have that stripped away for somebody's greed to get money, and they're not even going to have to live here with the repercussions of it. Without zoning laws, the residential areas aren't residential anymore. So we shouldn't be here talking about repealing zoning. We should be talking about increasing zoning to control what's being built in Berkeley County. You're one of the fastest growing counties in West Virginia, but it's the Wild Wild West. Look at what you did on Route 9 with all the developments. You impacted the quality of life for any person that has to drive Route 9 from Martinsburg to Berkeley Springs. You know why? Because you'll say, I don't care about the roads not being up to take all the traffic flow. That's on West Virginia DOT. That's their problem. These aren't our roads. But why don't you care about the people you're representing? Why don't you do better for us? We do not deserve to have our quality of life impacted. And I would have never bought a house where I did if I knew that there was going to be no residential zoning. And if that's the case, then every person that lives in that district should be given impact money from the Berkeley County Council for changing our lives forever. It's not going back. This is your chance to stand up for it and do what's right. Don't give in to greed. And, if it's 100%, if they work out a residential thing that fits in our neighborhood, I'm fine with that. Zero commercial business. Zero commercial business. It leads to like on Route 11 where you have strip clubs everywhere. What happened at the strip club this weekend? Somebody shot it up. You have a man life flighted. We do not need that in our neighborhood. We do not need the crimes, drugs, and everything else that comes with it. I thank you for your time, and I hope that you make the right decision.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'll try to keep it a little lighter. It's a little rough in here. So, my name's James Keefe. I live at 256 Showers Lane. I bought my house on Showers Lane 20 years ago. I'm from the county. I grew up in the county. When I was born, my parents took me home to all the apartments over where I moved over, Kent Terrace. From there, they wanted to buy a house, couldn't do it. We went to the trailer court, Dotson's trailer court. And then finally, when my third brother came along, we bought a house in Pipeside, single family, detached with some property so we could garden and do what we wanted to do. So I graduated high school here, Martinsburg High School, went to WU, graduated, and I moved away for a while. I decided, and my wife decided, that we were going to move back to Martinsburg, where we had family, to raise our child. We moved to Showers Lane because of the neighborhood, because of the quality of the neighborhood, and at that time, and still, but at that time, it was a fairly prestigious avenue, lane. Steptoes lived there, the Millers, Mr. Brown, a lot of upstanding citizens in the community. And they went together along with Mr. Steptoe, who I got to meet before he passed and talked to several times when he was walking his property, that but we bought there because of the zoning, because it was a single family detached home with some property, and we knew the zoning was in place. Now the lawyer speaks of whatever they're requesting as part is in tune with the comprehensive plan, but so is our zoning is within the comprehensive plan. Single family detached homes are within the zoning. Just because there's a comprehensive plan does not entitle them to take away the zoning. So I went away for a while. I came back, but the county's not what it was when I grew up or when my parents grew up here. I'm fine with single family home detached building. Okay with that. Nobody wants a storage facility in their backyard. The second house on Sheriff's Lane is a $500,000 house, and you're gonna put a shipping, you're gonna put a storage unit behind it? That's just ridiculous. So, and at this rate, I probably will not be a resident of West Virginia much longer, especially in Berkeley County. And that's all I have to say. It is not where I want to live anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keefe.
Hi, my name's Ray Toth. I live on 606 Warren Mill Road in Montbrook Estates. If I may quote an old song, you guys want to tear down the trees and put up a parking lot. And that's exactly where we're at. We're going to tear down trees and put up a parking lot. You remember when you used to be able to cross King Street Bridge and you were in the country? Now you're going to cross King Street Bridge and you're going to be in a big city again, or you never left the city. And I just don't think we should, again, cut down the trees and put up another parking lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tina C. Roach, and I don't live off Showers Lane and Chateauguay and Mount Brook. I live further past off the Tuscarora Pike off of Thatcher Road, and I drive Tuscarora Pike every day. I've got two big concerns, is the traffic, the roads. That road travels back to Poorhouse Farm Park, where kids, adults fish, play, sports, football. So there's a lot of families that travel that road. So the infrastructure, I've just seen in Berkeley County that we build it and then we try to make up for the roads, and we're always behind on it. So this will just be another terrible situation. And then second is the creek, the Tuscarora Creek, the fish that are put in there, the deer, the wildlife. I mean, it's going to affect the wildlife tremendously. So I'm all for development, but doing it right.
Thank you. Be the last call for public hearing if you want to come forward and make your comments known.
Try not to cry.
You may want to raise the microphone so everybody can hear.
I'm a little taller.
You are a little taller.
All right, what I said, I'm going to try not to cry first.
Okay, let me have your name first.
My name is Scott McAvoy. I live at 191 Showers Lane. My wife and I bought our house there roughly 1997, probably 24, 25 years ago, because it was zoned. Truly 100%. You can call me a snob, you can call me whatever you want. But when we were looking at homes and I came up Showers Lane, every yard was meticulously taken care of. And I'm very anal about my property and I want everything to look nice. After we moved in there, met Dr. Hutzler. I lived between Dr. Hutzler and Charlie Brown. And immediately they introduced me to Bob and Sarah Steptoe, and they became very dear friends of ours. I helped Mr. Steptoe for years. Anytime he needed anything, I would help him take care of it. And he always talked about how much he enjoyed the property and seeing the wildlife, and Sarah did. And of course, we do too. Every morning I have 30, 40 turkeys in my backyard, 15, 20 deer. Today I had a coyote run through. But I feel too for the Steptoes because I too have inherited a couple hundred acres of land. But I am keeping it the way my father asked me to. I'm not going to change it. And I've already written it in my will that when I pass away, that if my wife and son decide to sell it because they don't really want it, then at that point they go to all the families that surround it and give them the opportunity to buy it first. Because where I own land, it's stuff that's been handed down through families over 100 years. We knew that once Bob and Sarah passed away, that our way of life is probably going to change some. And we're not against single-family detached homes on half-acre plus lots, just like they are where we live now, and where Chateau Gay is, and with Mount Brook Estates and Mill Point. We all like that. We like the safety of it. We feel safe in our neighborhoods. But all I ask is that to not take the zoning away. Make it be that build the single-family dwellings. Don't make it commercial. Don't make it townhouses. We don't want to deal with the trash and the garbage that comes with that. And we can all say that it doesn't happen, but it does. Everywhere where you look, it does. Most people that live in townhomes and condominiums and things, a lot of them are just renters and they're there for short times and they don't maintain their properties. We don't want that in our neighborhood. We want things taken care of. Again, like I said, I've inherited a couple hundred acres of land and I maintain it just the way my father wanted it maintained, and I plan on doing it. I thank you for your time, but please, please don't let this become commercial.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
McAvoy.
Good evening. My name is Judy Younger, and I live at 294 Chateau Gay, Street of Dreams. We built our house there in Chateau Gay approximately 3 years ago. We went to look at the lot, and we were very impressed. The whole community, and they keep their places very nice. They really take effort into keeping it that way for the use for everyone. I oppose what's happening on change the zoning, and I too, with this gentleman just spoke, I don't object to single housing of people being there with pride that are expected to stay there and take care of their property, just like the people in that whole area. And it's getting terrible out on the main road right now. We don't have, it's continuously traffic back and forth all the time now, all the time. What this is gonna do, I can't even imagine. I don't care if this person puts 3 entryways into that development. It's going to cause one house is gonna have at least 2 cars, if not 3 now. They're gonna have 2 or 3 children, whatever the case may be. Buses running back and forth and everything. So it's gonna really cause us to lose our rural area. It won't be country anymore. And when we built there, we saw country and I like country. And I appreciate your care, and I hope you folks make the right decision for the people.
Thank you.
Linda, would I be able to address a few of these questions or concerns?
Do you want to do the online? Yes. We have, he wants to address them.
When we took in to purchase this property, speaking to Mike. When we were looking to purchase this property, we're trying to figure out what would fit best with this community. I know the Tuscarora area is a very high-end, very nice community, and we thought about that. And the product we were looking to use was a villa product. This is typically retired people, empty nesters. They have grandkids. You know, I can't say there won't be some kids there, but the impact on the schools, I think, will be very minimal with this type of product. We've built a lot of these over the years, and that's typically what that is. And for the DOH issues, you know, again, we have to do a traffic study to figure out what will work. We have had the state there to look at it. Of course, they got to do a traffic study to figure the whole thing out to see if there is any issues. And unless I'm just completely misunderstanding the existing ordinance on this same piece of property, we could have almost 160 homes on that property. And what we're proposing is 116 on 53 acres. So we're putting less on that property. And the whole reason why we had the commercial.
Listen, allow Mr. Henry to do his speaking.
Again, we're early in on this concept here, and I've got the ordinance here, and it says 20,000 square feet per single-family home. And that's what we're kind of going for the guidelines here. And that's, I mean, again, unless I'm just completely not reading this correctly. So I thought we were doing less than what's in this ordinance we have here. And so that's where we came in with 100, we got 116, and we put a little bit of commercial. It was only 20 acres up there. And we did that to give a buffer.
Please, please, please.
We were given a buffer from the homes on Showers Lane. And there would just be a road going there, and it would be small lots for, I mean, we showed storage units. They don't have to be that. We've done a number of them in the past, and we make them look higher end. We haven't had crime issues and all that kind of stuff. We have cameras on them. We haven't had issues. We have had a few break-ins, and it happens pretty much on anything that happens. So that was the reason for why we kept that down away from the house on Shires Lane, so that they would have some light commercial behind it, which would have a row of trees to buffer them as well. So anyway, I just want to address those few issues there. That again, whenever we come up with this design, again, we're early in on this concept plan. We're not asking for approval here right now, but I thought the reason why we have this issue here from the beginning is that we was going to cluster these homes and have a road, there's sidewalks on both sides of the street, and then we have the homes on both sides of the village, homes on each side of the road, and then there's a lot of common ground it's in buffer land. That's how we get to 53 acres. There's only 116 homes on 53 acres just because of the buffer land. And then that only leaves a little bit of commercial there. Again, we don't have to do the commercial. I mean, we were just trying to create a concept and get a feel for what the area would like, and we would make those kind of adjustments.
We don't need to change the ordinance.
Again, my understanding, the only reason why we're in this ordinance, it has a cluster home ordinance in here. And that's what we were going with.
Thank you.
Excuse me? Since Mr. Henry got to speak after us, did somebody say something in rebuttal to what he's suggesting?
I don't know that that's appropriate at this time. Wait a minute. Marshals, you're hearing all this. We're not going to have it, all right?
We have some people on Zoom.
They can. You've already spoken.
We do have several people that have logged in through Zoom that I'd like to go through the list of those folks and give them the opportunity, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I see their names listed as far as how they've signed in, so I'm going to unmute them and then call them out so that we're not all trying to talk over each other at the same time on Zoom. So the first person that I see has logged in as Tom. If you have something you'd like to share, please share it. Okay, Tom, it looks like you've muted yourself, so I'll go into the next person, and if you're able to unmute and you'd like to speak on this, please let me know. The next one I have is logged in as TAXAJ000. And some of you might just be logged in to listen, and that's fine too, so I'll just keep going through the list. I have someone with the name of Brian B. I have someone by the name of Corey, and I'm clicking to allow all of you to speak. Hello?
Yep. Yes, hi. It's Corey Markovitz. I'm 1171 Horizon Way. I would also oppose the high-density housing as well. I would add, interestingly enough, that the very first gentleman that opened up his remarks about how, I believe it was his daughter that was looking for housing to come back to, and the prices were like $200 or $250 a square foot, which admittedly is very, very high. You know, it doesn't sound like what they're proposing is in keeping with what his daughter's looking for, just as an example of what he's talking about, right? We all have moved into this area for a good reason. We were looking for homes that were further apart, right? That were not high density, right? We were looking for something with some open space, some of us that made back onto some open farmland and whatnot. As everybody else has said, I don't think anybody here disputes the fact that, you know, development is going to happen. We get that, we understand that. But we just wanted, I think, to be in keeping with the existing style of the surrounding homes, right? If they want to build, you know, very high density housing in order to get the most return on investment, well, then if you want commercial, then go to town, right? Buy a lot or buy some older buildings somewhere in the city of Martinsburg and build something higher. But if you're coming out, you know, to this area, look around you, right? Build something that is in keeping. That, I think, you'll get buy-in from the community. You'll get people to embrace your idea, not to rebuff it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have Brian B. added into the chat. I am opposed to high-density housing. It is out of character for the area. I second Corey's comments. And he lives on Sierra Drive. Next person we have on the list is Heidi. I've allowed you to speak, and you can unmute if you'd like to add some comment. Let's see. We also have Jessica. And Marlana Roach. And Shannon. If any of you would like to speak, feel free to unmute yourselves and share what you would have to say. And then I have a couple of phone numbers. I won't give the whole number. The last four digits are 1852. And then the next phone number ends in 6000. And that's everyone on Zoom. So they've all been given permission to speak, but still have themselves muted. So it appears that they're here to listen.
Anthony, do you want to allow the public to answer any of Mr. Henry's?
Well, I mean, if anyone anyone's not spoken wants to speak, you can come and speak, but I don't think we need to
Get into
have
dialogue.
a free flow. So it's works.
I'm Jesse McCoy, live on Babbling Brook Lane, and I've been looking at this the whole time we've been here. Can any one of you look at that and tell me that's what's going to be there? Can any one of you do it? Because I doubt you can, because this is an exemption from the zone. That's a wannabe plan that they're presenting to us to make us all feel good. But that doesn't even make us feel good at all. They addressed the ordinance or the state code earlier, all right, and the comprehensive plan. And they neglected to talk about Article 10 in the amendments of the zoning right here. In section 1001 talks about the comprehensive plan. All right, and in section 1002 talks about the petition for change and how you go about doing it. All right, I know you all didn't do the petition. There's only two people that can do the petition. Yourself, not the county council, but the planning committee. And the other part says the owners of 50% or more of the real property area to which the petition relates. I'm no lawyer, all right? I may not understand it exactly 100%, but I think that's important to look at, all right? And the reason that I brought up comprehensive plan, which is in the first point of Article 10, it covers the whole plan. We're all affected, all of us are, all right? And you can't just exempt somebody from a plan that's been there for years and years. You just can't do it. It's not right. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Can everybody hear me? No?
Oh, wow. There you go.
Now?
A little closer to the mic.
Okay, all
There
right.
you
My name is Dee Snyder. I live at 9426 Tuscarora Pike, right in front of Chateau Gay. The traffic is terrible there. I used to work at the VA, and I sit down at the bottom of the driveway for like 15, 20 cars just trying to get out of my driveway. Plus, you're having the traffic coming the other way. And my fear was with my mom and I that we would be down at the bottom of the driveway and some car would come around that curve really fast and end up going up a driveway and do a head-on with my mom or me. And actually, we have had cars come up the driveway and hit my tree, have come up the driveway and gone to a house next to me. And we've had several accidents on that road. Luckily, nobody has gotten killed. My understanding has been over the years that unless somebody gets killed, they won't do anything about the road. So, but it's just a really concern if we're going to do away with the zoning
and we're gonna have more houses, that's gonna be more traffic on that road, and it's just, I just think that you vote against the, zoning, or getting rid of the zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. This is your opportunity. If you have questions you want to make, or comments you want to make.
Hi, I'm Tina Roach. I know I've been up already once before, but I just want to ask one question of Mr. Henry. I am in agreement that we do need some senior housing. If there's going to be senior housing, if you're going to do it as a 55 and up community, versus just hoping that seniors would buy it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
My name is John Bushman. I live at 74 Babbling Brook Lane. I sent an email this weekend, so I'll just keep this brief. My big question is for Mr. Henry. He was saying that these apparently fit within the code. So why do we need to exempt this property from the code if this already fits within it? My big concern is that it's a big strip of, says future commercial. So what's going to go there? We don't know. He also said this is all very tentative and very early planning. So what's to say after the exemption, if the exemption goes through, what's to say they don't just completely change this plan to something completely different?
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry to bother you again.
The other thing is,
You state your name for the record.
Mary Knowles. We heard about this in the dead of night. No warning, nothing, only word of ear. I ask you to quash this immediately for the sake of the elderly people, and there's a woman who's very nervous that's living beside me. I know these people are suffering. I beg you in God's name, do not let one man's greed overturn this. If it was good enough for the old decent Mr. Steptoe, please keep his integrity. And we got no warning. It just came to us word of mouth. And I thank you, committee, for listening and putting up with me. But I am dealing with poor elderly people coming to me. What are we going to do? I'm leaving. What are we? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I haven't slept for 2 nights. That's why I'm so erratic. Please, I beg you, in God's name, crush this ludicrous thing immediately. This is illegal. It's illegal because we never heard about it. We got no warning.
Okay, you've made your comment.
I thank you very much for listening to me. I'm sorry I'm so erratic, but I'm dealing with people, and I don't know what to say. We're all like nervous wrecks.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's give them a chance. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing if there is no further comments. Now's your opportunity to make your comments known. Okay, let the record show that there is no further comments.
Make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gant, second by Ms. Norton to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Thank you. We'll give you a few minutes to exit the room.
Thank you all for your time. Oh, let me give you my Yes. Pretty son. Thanks for calling.
Is this one for the waiver bill one? The next one?
I'm not sure. Yeah, you can, if there's a blank sheet, you can just start a new sheet, or you can just write on the bottom.
Are you like a former school teacher or anything?
It doesn't matter. You can just write on the same sheet as everybody else. These all in-person representation, so you don't have to worry about letting anybody other than. So she'll read staff reports and there's people with.
I think some school teacher earlier.
When do you want me to do that?
These are yeah, I wrote those notes down. So you can go ahead and give an idea.
You guys having fun yet?
Oh, yeah. This feels like the old days.
Hand me your head.
I still on something once a month. That blood run down my face. I didn't even know. I mean, I knew I hit it, but I didn't know it was supposed to. Yeah, I need to wear one 24/7. That's what my head's like concrete.
It's rare, but it goes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take care.
This meeting doesn't turn into a super spreader.
Thank you.
I just muted us real quick, so we're good. Which way do you think it's gonna go?
Huh?
Which way do you think that's gonna go?
Well, we're not voting.
Right now, we are muted. Just play with it.
Which I'm glad we're not voting on it.
I can't.
Thank
And maybe there's some way to work this out so it's not
The next few things go
Oh, yeah.
quicker.
Yeah.
But you know, man, that's
That's why this process is set up. We get people to come, have not exactly speak. That's what it's about.
My thing is, the folks that they have to sell, why don't they have zoning? For 15 years, they haven't had zoning. So if they're so concerned about their area, they should have more.
Yeah, that was scary. That was scary for you.
No one saw that.
Now.
Do the arm scramble. No, she's currently on. We're currently muted.
Oh, we're moving. You
Just for now. But yeah, she's on. I did that so everyone would leave freely and everything else. When she comes back, I'll unmute it.
She's like, should I call back? Oh, neat.
Oh.
Yeah, she's texting me like, I can't hear it.
No. Just tell her that I've temporarily muted since everyone's in the process of leaving.
It is hot. Try having the AC next you know what hot is in here. Oh, really?
And then just let you know I have. Okay.
Everybody leaves.
I have us muted for now.
Thank you. Yes, that's always best.
I think that's what she was checking. Need a Red Bull with my coffee tomorrow. Be halfway to work before I realize I forgot my car.
You guys don't have coffee together?
No, I didn't. I was just joking. I was like, tomorrow I'm going to need a mixed Red Bull with my coffee. I'll be halfway to work before I realize I forgot my car. No. My wife gets, she always loves like these fancy coffees. And she'll get the caramel brulee, these mixers and all this stuff. I'm like, I love it.
Yeah, Laura just got Snickers, creamer.
But it's also the coffee blend you get too. Like she gets all these like fancy blends.
She usually gets this.
You should heard what he said about you.
I know, 5 minutes to the wrong number is what he said. Do you want to shut that door? But we don't have everybody back in here yet.
There he goes.
He's coming. He's
Okay.
coming.
Okay.
We are currently on mute, so when just pick that up when you're ready to go.
Okay. See, you thought it was me that you're waiting on.
Yeah, it wasn't you after all.
No.
Yeah.
To thank everybody for their patience. That was a pretty trying public hearing. We will follow the agenda now. The next item on the agenda under public hearing is the Villas of Warm Springs.
Yes, it is a request for waiver. The project is the Villas at Warm Springs, file 2104-133, tied to 2104-132. The developer is John E. Myers and Son, LLC. The engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Opequon District, map 10C, parcel 59.1, 60.3, 60.4, 60.5, 60.6, 60.7, 60.8, 60.9, 61, 61.1, 61.2, and 61.3. This project is located on the east side of Warm Springs Avenue, approximately 900 feet north of Plaza Court. The developer is proposing 16 duplex lots on approximately 2.88 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The developer is requesting a waiver to the minimum cul-de-sac radius, which is 70 feet, as required by Appendix A of the subdivision regulations, and proposing reducing the cul-de-sac radius to 40 feet. Based upon the information provided, county engineer recommends denial of the waiver request. County planning concurs with engineering recommendation to deny the waiver request.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening. Steve Stianovich with Fox and Associates, representing the applicant. Also with me this evening is the developer, John and Chris Myers.
Okay. This is a public hearing for the villas at Warm Springs. If you have questions or comments, now's your opportunity to make those known. Are there any?
There weren't any logged in.
None logged in. Okay.
I would like to add something on the public hearing portion if I may, Linda, if nobody else has anything they'd like to say.
Okay.
Thank you. I do have a handout that I'd like to pass out to the members of the planning commission.
I do have a raised hand from Shannon.
Okay. Is she unmuted?
I'm asking her to unmute now.
Is she the Shannon that was wanting to speak under the tuscarora?
I just went through the whole list. I didn't know who was there for which project. So.
Okay.
Shannon, you are able to speak?
Can you hear me?
Shannon, are you speaking regarding the villas at Warm Springs?
No, ma'am. I am speaking regarding Middle Creek Vistas. I just wanted to make sure that the agenda, I guess things were progressing. So please disregard my hand meeting. I'm just trying to figure this stuff out.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak to the handout that I just passed out. There's been some correspondence and conversation between our firm and both the planning department and the engineering department. As you all know, the agenda was issued last Thursday, and much of this discussion occurred subsequent to the agenda being issued to the planning commission members as well as the public. After discussions with engineering and the planning department, there were some conditions that both, and again, I'll convey to you what my understanding is with regard to the position of planning and engineering staff, but I certainly would defer to those parties to state that they either agree or disagree with what I had to say or have to say. First of all, there were 4 conditions that engineering and planning, I hate to use the word agreed on, but mentioned that could potentially cause them to change their position from a denial to an approval of this waiver request. I'd like to take a couple minutes and just read each and every contingency, if I may.
These items, are they in response to the recommendation that the engineer and the planning did a denial on?
In a sense, yes, and I think I'll need to explain that.
Yeah, well, maybe they need to be addressed with the staff rather than at a public hearing.
Please,
Steve had emailed these items to us earlier today. So Doug Smith and I both have had a chance to look at them, and we told him that if he brought them before you and you were willing to consider, that both engineering and planning would be on board with changing our recommendation to approval contingent upon these items that Steve has listed.
Oh, okay. You agreeing with that, Mr.?
Yes, ma'am. This was
Okay.
a written conversation we had during the stormwater management meeting. There's a waiver came in that GC presented here, which was very thin. We had no inclination that the other conditions that we had discussed during the stormwater management meeting would be taken care of, therefore we recommended denial. Subsequently, the applicant has moved forward now with bringing these conditions up, and as long as they're willing to agree to these conditions, we would remove the denial and support it.
Do you want to change the staff recommendation, the engineer's recommendation then?
Yeah.
Well, do you want to read something for the record?
Yes, County Engineer Doug Smith.
Do you want to come to the microphone so that it can be picked up? I'm sorry.
Yes, this is County Engineer Doug Smith. At this time, we would recommend approval of the waiver request for Warm Springs and based on the following, the applicant performing the following conditions. A vacation of a portion of the right-of-way of the road to create a community open space area as shown on the attached exhibit. To install no parking signage and paint the curb red in the area of the cul-de-sac as shown on the attached exhibit. Install a complete sidewalk and appropriate crosswalks to create a continuous walking path for the use of the community residents as shown on the attached exhibit. And finally, to include all of the impervious area associated with the existing developed lot into the MS4 computation sizing for the BMPs for this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Planning Commission members, you've heard the revised staff recommendation. Is there any public comment to be made now?
No public comment. I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Yeah, this gentleman wanted to speak.
Stephen Sparks, I live at 429.
I'm sorry, Stephen Sparks?
Yep.
Okay.
I live at 429 Warm Springs Ave. So this is just about giving a validation on that little pink area down there. But is there gonna be anything in the future about adding a road and stop signs there on Warm Springs Ave? I don't see that in there. And I know the lady next to me got hit by traffic on that road because no one pays attention to the speed. It's supposed to be 30. They do 40, 45 up and down that road. That's just a cutoff lane.
Sir, I'm not sure which pink area you're talking about.
Well, on this handout we just gave you, cul-de-sac?
Oh, where the cul-de-sac is, yes, sir.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the first time I heard about this thing. So, I don't know, is there gonna be no hearing on, like, all the other stuff, like density, travel?
No.
No? Is there gonna be any hearings on the road situation?
This commission does not enforce road conditions. That's done by the State Highway Department. There may be a traffic study, but I don't.
Yeah, so after this would be the sketch plan public hearing that would look at it as a whole. Tonight it's going to be
Design waiver.
the design of the cul-de-sac and what recommendations we go.
All right. Yeah, like I said, I just learned about this by this time. I didn't know there was something out there. I'm not sure where they're actually going to put it. Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Okay, let the record show that there's no further comments. I have a motion by Mr. Gant, second by Mr. Deal to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I think the aye was a delayed approval. Who is that last? Huh? Derek?
It's probably me.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
I was an I-4. It was an I-4.
Okay, all right, thank you. So the public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Sionovich or of the staff?
just so I have an understanding, because I don't know, the original requirement calls for a 70-foot right-of-way. I'm sorry, cul-de-sac.
60-foot paved area, 70-foot right.
So 60-foot,
Radius.
and we're looking at doing a 40-foot.
It's a little bit over.
It's about,
Right. Radius, not diameter.
Oh, okay.
so it would be, of course, an 8-foot diameter.
Okay.
The other thing I would like to mention, when we first proposed this design waiver, we did run an auto turn analysis using the City of Martinsburg pumper truck to show that fire apparatus would be able to make a turning movement within the cul-de-sac geometry that we have shown on this waiver application, without the need for that apparatus to stop and back up and realign to continue its movement. And did demonstrate during our sketch plan, our stormwater management concept, I showed those auto turn analyses with County Engineer Doug Smith that shows both inbound and outbound movements of a fire apparatus in the cul-de-sac, and also back out to Warm Springs Avenue. We went ahead and looked at, in our auto turn analysis, we did have a City of Martinsburg truck set up there already, because I went through this analysis on previous jobs. And I don't remember the exact geometry, but it was your standard pumper truck, and I'm a little hesitant about citing a dimension of that truck because I don't have that data with me today.
Any further questions by the planning commission members?
There are none. I'll make the motion. We accept engineer and staff recommendation to approve the waiver for this project,
The revised.
contingent upon the changes that they requested made.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gantz, second by Mr. Gokenhour, to accept the amended staff recommendation with the contingencies placed on by the planning and engineering staff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes our fun and games for public hearing tonight. The next item on the agenda is preliminary plan approval, and it's for 3 different Verizon wireless sites.
That is correct. The first is Verizon Wireless Jones Springs, file number 2008-130, tied to file number 035-19. The developer is Maz Tech. The engineer is J2 Engineers Incorporated. It is located in Jarrettstown District Tax Map 5, Parcel 51. The property is located at 8190 Back Creek Valley Road. That is Back Creek Valley Bow and Gun Club, south of its intersection with Sleepy Creek Road. The project proposes a 2,500 square foot leased area for a telecommunications tower on 21.22 acres, which is not proposing utility. At the February 3rd, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted an exception to Section 705 to not install sidewalks along Back Creek Valley Road. On January 3rd, 2020, the county engineer, Dirk Stansberry, issued a letter of approval and stated that the preliminary plan meets the requirements to advance to the final plat stage. The preliminary plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance 2009. Therefore, staff recommends advancement of the preliminary plan to the final plat stage.
Mr. Sparks? Are you finished with your questions?
Yeah.
Okay, we're on another project.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project? J2 Engineers.
Hello. Josh Shakola with Mastic Network Solutions.
I'm sorry, what's your last name?
Shakola.
Spell it.
S-C-H-A-K-O-L-A.
That's as bad as Stianovich. Okay.
Yeah, this is part of, all three of these items are actually part of a larger network that Verizon Wireless has been working on for about 5 years now. 2 of those towers are already under construction, and these are the 3 that are remaining that need to go through final preliminary plan and permitting. Took a while to work through some of the details with the Department of Highways and entrance permits, but finally got that worked out. We've got the steel, we've got everything ready to roll as soon as we can get our permit secured.
Okay.
Any questions here?
Is that gonna make cell service really good in this area?
Yeah, the idea is it's covering the entire valley area. So as I said, there's 2 under construction now, there's these 3, and then there's been upgrades to other surrounding towers. So it's been a plan for a number of years, and of course, COVID, everything got much more difficult with people being home, trying to work or do school work. I've been on the phone with residents, I don't know how many times in the past year plus, to try to get this project moving as quickly as possible.
Okay. Thank you. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of the applicant or of the staff?
There are none. I make a motion, we accept staff recommendation and advance through the preliminary plan to the final plan stage.
Have a motion by Mr. Gantz, second by Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendation and advance the preliminary plan to the final plat stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. The next item is a Verizon Wireless Shanghai.
Yes, this is also a request for preliminary plan approval. Again, Verizon Wireless Shanghai, file number 2008-128, tied to file number 036-19. Developer Maztec, engineer J2 Engineers Incorporated, located in Jaredstown District, tax map 13, parcel 30. The property is located at 4457 Back Creek Valley Road, approximately 0.20 miles south of its intersection with Tuscarora Pike, West Virginia Route 18. The project proposes a 2,500 square foot leased area for a telecommunications tower on 12.68 acres, which is not proposing utilities. At the February 3rd, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted an exception to Section 705 to not install sidewalks along Back Creek Valley Road. On August 10th, 2020, the county engineer Dirk Stansberry issued a letter of approval and stated that the preliminary plan meets the requirements to advance to the final plat stage. The preliminary plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance 2009. Therefore, staff recommends advancement of the preliminary plan to the final plat stage.
Again, Josh, do you want to represent the project?
Yes, I'm here representing the project, Josh Shakola again from Aztec, and I can answer any questions.
Okay. Is it West Virginia 18, Tuscarora Pike? I thought that was 19. Is that 18? Okay.
Jim's fault. Probably told you it was 18.
I thought I saw it on the Tuscarora zoning map that it was 19.
19.
Thank
If there are no further questions, I'll make the motion to accept staff recommendation, grant the preliminary plan, and move to the final plan stage.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gantz, second by Mr. Deal to accept staff recommendation and to advance the project from the preliminary plan to the final plat stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed. Okay, the next item is Verizon Wireless Mills Gap.
Yes, also a request for preliminary plan approval. Again, project Verizon Wireless Mills Gap. file number 2008-129, tied to file number 037-19. Again, developer Maz Tech, engineer J2 Engineers Incorporated, Jaredstown District Tax Map 31, parcel 2.1. The property is located at 6294 Apple Harvest Drive, West Virginia Route 45, at its intersection with Jaredstown Road, West Virginia Route 51. The project proposes a 2,500 square foot leased area for a telecommunications tower on 83.91 acres, which is not proposing utilities. At the February 3rd, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted an exception to Section 705 to not install sidewalks along Apple Harvest Drive and Jaredstown Road. On September 2nd, 2020, the county engineer Dirk Stansberry issued a letter of approval and stated that the preliminary plan meets the requirement to advance to the final plat stage. The preliminary plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance 2009. Therefore, staff recommends advancement of the preliminary plan to the final plat stage.
Thank you. Josh, you want to represent the project again?
Yes, ma'am. Answer any questions yet?
Planning Commission members, do you have questions of the applicant's representative or of the staff?
Make a motion to accept staff recommendation, advance to the preliminary plan to the final plat stage.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Gant, to accept the staff recommendation and advance the preliminary plan to the final plat stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed. The next item on the agenda is final plat determination, Middle Creek Vistas.
Yes, Middle Creek Vistas, Phase 1, Section 1, file number 2012-380. The developer is Warfield Homes Incorporated. The engineer is Morris and Ritchie Associates Incorporated. It is located in the Mill Creek District, Map 1, Parcel 3.2. This project is located approximately 2,500 feet south of the intersection of Sailor's Way and Strobridge Road, secondary Route 34, with Middle Creek running through the middle of the site. The developer is proposing 10 single-family lots on approximately 16.6 acres to be served by public water and sewer. On April 20th, 2020, the developer was granted a waiver to Article 5, Section C2 of the Berkeley County Stormwater Management Ordinance 2016, which requires stormwater management quantity control. On May 11th, 2021, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance 2009. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the June 22nd, 2021 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to represent the project, Middle Creek Vistas?
John Erickson logged in, and he was watching the Caps game, so hopefully that's not like his sport.
Yeah.
That might have been a goal. Sorry.
Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Erickson or of the staff?
I have a question with the stream running through the middle of it. You know, what's the potential for flooding in that area?
Zero. I mean, the houses are probably 100 feet above the street.
And I reviewed it for the ordinance compliance.
Perfect, thank you.
If no further questions, I'll make the motion. We accept staff recommendation and advertise a public hearing for final plat approval on June 22nd, 2021 Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
Have a motion from Mr. Gantz, second from Mr. Deal, to accept staff recommendation and to consider the final plat approval at a public hearing on June 22, 2021. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. The last item on the
Thank you.
agenda for projects is Overlook at Riverside, Phase 4.
Yes, this is a request for final plat determination. Again, Overlook at Riverside, Phase 4, 5, and 6, lots 24 through 52, 65 through 77, and 142 through 157. The file number is 2102-034, tied to 70-05. The developer is Rock Family Limited Partnership. The engineer is Frederick Seibert and Associates. It's located in the Falling Waters District, map 7, parcel 160.3. The property is located on the east side of Williamsport Pike, US 11, and south of I-81. The project proposes 58, that's 42 detached and 16 attached, single-family lots on approximately 10.7 acres to be served by public water and sewer. On April 2nd, 2018, the Planning Commission granted the developer the following deviations for a planned unit development. Direct access to boulevard will not be permitted. Sidewalk to be placed on north side of boulevard. Plant fast-growing trees as a buffer between Brookfield and Overlook at Riverside. On September 16, 2019, the Planning Commission granted the developer a waiver to Article 8, Section 801, Table 8-1A, reducing the required parking for a multifamily dwelling with a minimum of 1.86 spaces per unit being provided. County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter on May 13, 2021, stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the June 22nd, 2021 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Yes, this is Trevor Frederick, Vice President of Frederick Seibert Associates, representing the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Frederick or of the staff?
There are none. I'll make the motion. We accept staff recommendation and advertise for a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval on June 22nd, 2021 Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
Have a motion from Mr. Gantz, second by Mr. Gokenhour, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to consider the final plat at a public hearing on June 22, 2021. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, that concludes most of the business. Does staff have anything they want to add? How about you, Anthony?
I don't have anything additional. As for the first hearing we had today, staff will get the all of the comments that were given by letter or mail or email to all of you, and I think we'll place it on the next agenda in 2 weeks. And
You'll have it all compiled in 2 weeks?
The stuff that was already sent.
stuff that was already sent.
Oh, okay. What about the public hearing comments tonight?
Minutes are part of the next.
But will you have those comments included in that?
Oh, in writing?
Yeah.
They're just a, unless, if the planning commission wants the transcript, give it. Pardon me. I think it's he doesn't want a transcript.
I don't need to read Almighty God, strike this down.
That's what I was good.
The question is if we gave.
Absolutely.
Yes. I mean, if they're going to, then I can tell you right now, you might as well plan on getting. the
Transcript.
If you would like, we can certainly get a transcript. Every time I say that, it's
No, you got time perfectly done.
Is it now or later? Is that what I'm hearing from legal? Transcript now or later?
I mean, we already have a video recording.
Okay.
So that is what we base the transcript from.
Okay.
If it's needed later, I think we would be interested in getting a transcript. But I don't see any reason to have it. Everyone who's here for the meeting heard the comments, can read the other comments and make a decision on what sorts of recommendations to make to the county council.
How long are we going to have to make our recommendation to the county council?
Well, and I foresee that as being a discussion among the members of the planning commission, and then direction to staff, be it myself or Heather or anyone else, to draft up written recommendations with your, not just, I mean, you can just say yes, no, as a recommendation, but I think it should probably be a little more in depth than that. The statute does address the comprehensive plan and whether it fits in with that, but that's not the only thing to consider in recommending approval or denial of this petition.
Okay. So you're going to give us something in writing as a recommendation?
Well, if you would like, I was thinking more that there would be a discussion and then you would just direct us to.
Should we go in executive session?
You can't do it in executive session.
No. But when do you suggest that we have that discussion?
At the next meeting, after you've read all the comments and all that.
Okay.
2 weeks or the first meeting in June. And then if you would like, we could draft up the recommendations and you approve it at the meeting after that. And that would, or you could just give us direction and we could, if it's a simple recommendation given to the county council, then I don't think we would have to come back and approve the language of it. But if it's something more in-depth that you want information in there, then it might be the meeting after that.
Okay, well, the recommendation you would draft up, but it would have to have the support of all the planning commission members, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So I think that's what I was saying. If it's just a straight yes or no, I can draft the word yes or no pretty easily without coming back a third time. But what I was thinking that at the first meeting in June, Planning Commission discusses it, makes a vote as to what the recommendation should be, and then you can draft the recommendation and you can approve the final language. And it doesn't have to be a vote, it can just be direction to say, hey, draft a recommendation in favor of approval or denial based on these factors. And it doesn't need to be a really long document. It's 1 or 2 pages, I think.
Are there specific things that we should either discuss or ask questions about now before he?
Well, that's kind of what I'm asking. Do we talk about that before they do the draft?
Well, I think we need to get all the comments and everything to you first.
Okay.
talk about it next.
Put it on the agenda for next time. Have the discussion and then you give directions.
Okay, and that would come under staff council discussion action,
I think it should have a specific, it should be
a
on
point
the agenda.
on the agenda? Okay. Does that mean we're going to have the room full of people again?
It might mean we have a room full of people, they will not be permitted to speak.
Okay.
Hearings.
Well, but they will be permitted to speak in public comment at the beginning of the
They can
meeting.
speak at the sunshine law, yeah, but they won't,
So,
they
or,
won't
yeah,
see, they won't see, our discussion, and that would be after the sunshine law.
Correct.
And if each of you have questions on anything, you're welcome to call the department and we can pull the ordinance for you and reference certain sections. Comprehensive plan, if you want to know where certain things are in that, we can.
Yeah, 'cause I think it would be helpful for us to understand exactly where our authority lies in this, first of all, and you know, secondly, are there things specifically that could be addressed that might,
Appease the natives.
well, or just cause us to not have to make this decision at all?
All we're doing is recommending to go to the county council one way or another. I mean,
You have to make,
Well, I think aren't we having to recommend whether we support it or not to the county council?
Yeah.
correct.
And then so then my question is, you know, I just need to make sure I understand exactly what we are, because I think some of the people that spoke this evening didn't understand, you know, what our role was in this.
Sure.
Didn't understand, you know, what our.
Yeah, so
I think we're going to approve it.
So the planning commission just makes, through your expertise in all things planning and zoning, makes a recommendation to the council. And then the council gets to approve or deny. There is that separate track which the council sent out to get more feedback on whether to repeal the zoning ordinance in its entirety, which, you know, rather than taking the whole 75 acres out of the middle, to just either get rid of it or keep it the same, I think is what the idea was with that.
So to keep it the same would just basically mean that they would have to put in single-family dwellings instead of these duplexes that they're talking about. Plus
Correct.
do away with the commercial use. Is that correct?
Correct. There's some commercial use permitted under the zoning ordinance. It's limited to professional services, doctor's office.
And that has to be a special exception.
And that has to go before the
Zoning
Board of Zoning Appeals. But
do we have a?
We don't have a Board of Zoning Appeals. I think if it came down to it, something needed to be decided by the Board of Zoning Appeals. This body could hear it. And sit as the Board of Zoning Appeals. But
That doesn't sound
okay. It's kind of where things are. So in a couple weeks, come with any more questions you have on it.
Well, I think the
What's your
questions,
ideas and thoughts?
yeah, I think the questions is more, from my standpoint, is procedural.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, procedurally, we have to send, the planning commission has to send something in writing, recommending, making recommendations.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be just a yes or no. You could say, well, we would approve it if this thing, well, we would recommend deny, or something like that. It doesn't just have to be straight up yes or no, but it should say, give some direction. Here's what we want, not just, oh, we don't want to make this decision. It's really
Right.
your decision. You can't just do that. I think there has to be something.
So,
to think about.
but the way that Ken described this, it sounds like that we have a very narrow focus with this. Is that correct?
Or
is it a little stated too simply?
I don't know if it's as narrow as that. It does contemplate whether it fits in with the comprehensive plan, but I don't think the comprehensive plan is as simple as, well, this is a growth area, therefore we think anything can go. I think you have to look more. I mean, zoning district is part of the comprehensive plan as well. So it's not.
Right.
So I don't think it's just, this is a growth area, therefore this project is good under the.
And they're not locked in on that design, so really when you consider removing it from the map, you're considering it as a blank slate. Because we haven't reviewed or considered any sketches yet.
So is it out of our, would we have the ability to say, we would consider making a recommendation if we knew what was gonna really happen here? Or is that outside of our scope?
I think it's outside of the scope of this process. Variances and special exceptions under the ordinance, I think, can be bargained for if this do that. But that, of course, would limit. You'd still be certain things you couldn't go that route with, such as the storage units or other types of commercial. So that's where it would get hung up. I'm sure we'll hear back from Mr. Barton and the petitioner about things that they might want to do with.
Well, I'm not real sure that everything that Mr. Barton said is allowable through the zoning ordinance. I think he was speaking of some of the planning commission's ordinance, the subdivision regulations. He didn't clearly say that in the zoning ordinance it says this. He said in the ordinance. He didn't specify that it was a zoning ordinance that allowed for this and allowed for that. I'm thinking he may be referring to the subdivision regulations that allow a lot of things. He was pretty vague about that, I think, if you listen to what he was saying.
Well, actually, he was speaking to the comprehensive plan more than anything.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay.
I have a question about the Tuscarora zoning board itself. Right, so that's a group of people from the community.
There is none.
I think that board they were talking about was something that existed that formed back in the 70s when they formed. It actually says it on the front of the ordinance that this group helped. I think that group dissolved after.
So there's no opportunity for people in the community to be a part of the Tuscarora zoning as an individual body.
They haven't met since 2011.
There's the Board of Zoning Appeals, which is if there's an appeal, some decision that goes to planning. If you go submit a plan, but it doesn't quite meet the ordinance, there's certain appeals you can make for that body, which it's not met in 7 or 8 years.
And they've been listed on the county council packets when all the different organizations and authorities are listed and how many vacancies there are. So they, Board of Zoning Appeals has been on that list showing the vacancies.
Yeah.
But there hasn't
I think
been.
there'd be interested people now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Probably half of the people that were here this evening.
Yeah, and they probably don't even know of such an entity. Yes. So they would be going to those people second, us first anyway, with this whole.
No, it would still go. It depends, but usually for a variance or special exception under that ordinance, you first submit a plan to the
Planning Commission.
What do they call it? The zoning
Zoning
administrator,
administrator,
which is the planning department.
Okay.
Simply.
Okay, so it would start here anyway,
Mm-hmm.
in your offices. Okay.
Yes.
You're the zoning administrator.
Correct.
Yes.
And she doesn't get paid a dime. I don't know why the council doesn't pay her to be the zoning administrator and the
And the floodplain administrator.
And the flooding administrator. So.
And there hasn't been a reason to call them together since 2011.
Right.
And then this year is the first year where we started to see the activity and needed to call them together. But the people that were available in 2011 are no longer available since they passed away.
Yeah.
Didn't I see Scott McAvoy on there at one point? I don't know whether he helped write it or if he was part of the zoning appeals board. And he spoke this evening. Same Scott McAvoy.
He, I think, asked me on the phone or in an email about the Board of Zoning Appeals. He used to be on it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, currently looking for members.
Okay, well, let's see what the compilation of the comments looks like, and I'm sure we can put it on the agenda to talk about it at our next meeting. If you see that it's not going to happen by the next meeting, let us know.
And then put one after that.
Yeah.
Next meeting, I'll be in California, though. So.
Right.
Me too. Wasn't that convenient?
I'm booking a ticket tomorrow morning.
All right, give me one too.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
If there's no further business, I'm gonna beat you to it, Mr. Goff. You're napping.
I know.
You're napping through this whole meeting. I haven't heard you at all. Okay. Motion by Mr. Gantz, second by Mr. Gokenhour to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
14 days straight of work.
Meeting's adjourned at 8:12.